Hello, my name is Alan Gross. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I have been for 31 years now. I'm 41 years old and I became a type 1 diabetic when I was 10 years old. That's right, 10. It has been a long and grueling road over those last 31 years. Why? What's so hard? Well, first of all, when I became a diabetic, I was 10. Did you hear that? 10. 10 years old. You have to start checking your blood glucose, poking your finger, then you have to start taking shots. It's not pretty, it's not nice, and it's not fun. But I had to do it. Why? Because if you don't, you're going to die. And frankly, I didn't want my mom having to do it for me because, come on, I'm 10 years old. I'm an adult. Maybe not, but whatever. You get the point. It's rough. It's very rough on a kid. And if you have a child right now that's type 1 diabetic or even type 2, I really have sympathy for you, and I know what you're going through. It's tough, and I especially know what your child is going through, being as I was the child, not the parent. I have two kids right now, neither of which are type 1 diabetic or type 2 diabetic, and hopefully never will be. But we'll deal with that if it ever happens. But anyway, let's get back to what is this website about? Well, you're on my YouTube channel, and what we're going to do here on this channel is we're going to figure out how different foods affect my blood glucose levels. Not your blood glucose levels, my blood glucose levels. First of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not an expert. I'm just an anecdotal guy that has diabetes that has to deal with it. And diabetes is an art form. I can tell you that from the get-go. It is an art form. You never know what's going to happen. If you could be exercising today, you could be sitting on your butt tomorrow. You could be sick today, you could be very healthy tomorrow. You might want to run to the street to grab your friend's coat from him so you can put it at your house for the sleepover. Who knows? That's going to take some adjustments for your blood glucose levels. Or you might be going to a birthday party and you know they're going to have some cake. What do? Do you take insulin ahead of time, or do you wait till it's time? Then do you suffer the consequences if you get the cake put right in front of you? But what happens if you think there's going to be cake and then there is no cake? Well, the point of this is everything changes. There's so many variables being a type 1 diabetic, and probably for a type 2 as well. I'm not a type 2. I know the basic concept of it, but I know how it is to be a type 1, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about how we can beat your A1C, right? We're going to beat your A1C. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to be a guinea pig. You're going to see on this channel that I'm going to take this very scientific approach. Even though I'm not a scientist, I'm going to take a scientific approach to how to deal with type 1 diabetes and eating food. What does that mean? Well, I'm on an insulin pump. I also have a continuous glucose monitor, which is an acronym. The acronym is a CGM. So I have an insulin pump and a CGM. I use the Medtronic I use 670G insulin. I use the Medtronic 670G insulin pump, and I use the Guardian, and then my CGM is the Guardian, which goes with the pump. They communicate seamlessly together. There's even an auto mode on the pump that will kind of treat it like it's its own little pancreas for you. I don't use that thing. I don't like giving control over some AI somewhere. Not huge on it, but maybe we'll find out as we progress through this that it's something I should start doing, and it might help improve my A1C. Now, what is an A1C? Your glycohemoglobin A1C is a blood test that you'll get that will give you a running average of your blood glucose over about 3 months worth of time. Your endocrinologist or your doctor, if you're a type 1 diabetic or a type 2 diabetic, is going to make you get this thing all the time. Well, pretty much every 3 months or maybe every 6 months. Depends on what they're into. And what are they looking for? To see if you're doing your job. And what's your job? To keep your A1C in check. We're going to learn how to beat this A1C so it's always right where we want it to be. Now, sounds easy, right? Of course it is. And everybody, oh, I got a low A1C. I'm running a 5.0. So easy. Not so true. The reason I say that is because if you have a low A1C, which is what we're going for, the lower that it is within reason, the better, the more normal you are, the more comparative you are to somebody that is not a diabetic. But if you are a type 1 diabetic or even a type 2 diabetic and you have a low A1C, what could it mean? Well, it's a running average. We know how we get averages. We take a bunch of numbers, we add them all up, and then we divide them by the amount of numbers that we added up. Boom, that's your average. So If I have a blood sugar that's 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, and I do that 10 times, and then I divide it by 10, it's going to tell me that my blood sugar average is 100. But what if now I go, one sugar is 50, the second sugar is 50, and then two of my other sugars are 200? Well, is that gonna raise or lower my blood sugar levels? Or actually, that would be incorrect. What if it was 50, 50, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 150, 150? What's my average blood glucose level? Well, just in my brain, that's going to tell me it's still 100. So that's good, but I have some highs and I have some lows in there. The lows do a lot of damage. The highs do a lot of damage. We want to avoid those, and we want to keep our level just the same all the way through. That's hard to do because there's so many variables in our life. There's the type of food we're eating, the sugar content of the food, the fiber that's in the food. Is it soluble or insoluble fiber? Are we using sweeteners? Are we using real sugar? What are we eating? Is there fat? Fat plays a huge role. What about glycemic index? Have you ever noticed that if you eat a bowl of rice, it raises your blood sugar? Ridiculously, for me, white rice is kryptonite. It's not very healthy for you, but it tastes delicious, very starchy. However, did you know if you cool the rice for 24 hours in the refrigerator, it changes the glycemic index. It changes the type of starch. And all of a sudden, it doesn't have the same effect that it did when you got it straight out of the rice cooker. Now, what does that matter? Well, I notice a difference if I go to a restaurant and say get sushi. I love sushi, but it doesn't affect my sugar the same as when I'm at home and I throw some white rice in the rice cooker and then I just throw some rice wine vinegar. I'm a weirdo, I like to do that. Throw rice wine vinegar on it and then I eat it. My sugar goes through the roof. I mean, and it's ridiculous. I might be eating 100 grams worth of white rice and my body thinks I just ate 700 grams of white rice. And you think I'm joking. I am not. White rice is my kryptonite. I diet pretty well, so I don't eat it really ever, unless I cheat and I go to sushi. But just so you know, it's one of those things I want to be able to put down on paper. I want to show on a chart behind me that, hey, look what happens when I eat this white rice. Look at that trend just going through the roof. I don't want to do that. I want it to do this. How am I going to get it to do this? I'm going to start doing experiments where I'm showing you if I'm going to eat this piece of bread, how much fiber's in it, how much insulin do I need to take, and then when do I need to take that insulin? There's a huge difference if I eat a banana, which is very high glycemic index. If I eat a banana, my sugar spikes right up, and my insulin's never going to catch it. Blood sugar's going to go up, insulin's way over here, finally tries to catch up to it. I want the insulin to catch it as it's going, so it keeps it down. So what do I have to do? I have to take the insulin before I eat it, by quite a bit, maybe 30 minutes. However, if I decide to eat some strawberries instead, totally different situation. I wouldn't take it 30 minutes ahead. I might take it 10 minutes ahead of time. So on this site, I'm going to show you as I experiment on myself, and you get to watch because you're going to see real charts, real time changes, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to need to hit that like and that subscribe button because you're going to want to watch this. This is going to be something you've never seen before. And I've been doing this for 31 years. I know the difference between soluble fiber, non-soluble fiber. Eating a pasta with cheese, eating no pasta, or eating pasta with no cheese. Fat matters. It makes a huge difference. What does a sweetener do? How about sugar-free stuff when it's a sugar alcohol? Some of it will raise your blood sugar, some won't. Now, is this important for everybody that's a type 1 diabetic? Of course it is. Is it important for people that are not type 1 diabetics? Of course it is. And is it important for people that are type 2 diabetics? Of course it is. Because you might just think, well, I'm not a diabetic, I don't need to know this, but you do. Because if you're eating stuff that has high glycemic index and causes your insulin levels to spike or your blood glucose to go up so your insulin level will spike, you're doing damage to your body more or less that you don't want to be doing. There's all kinds of side effects. Inflammation, all this craziness, you know. This day and age, the stuff we put into our bodies did not exist hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Hell, sugar is isn't even that old. I mean, it's been around a long time, but you had to be kind of rich if you wanted to eat some sugar. So now we all eat sugar, and we're kind of all getting a little bit on the sugarier side, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I welcome you to the channel. I hope you sat through and watched this whole thing. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, follow me on all the social media. I want you guys to come along with me on this journey. This is the beginning post and the first time. I'm throwing graphs up behind me. I know all kinds of crazy stuff's going on behind me, pictures of food, all kinds of good stuff. Well, you're going to get to see what goes on, in this little thing as we learn how to beat our A1C and we give diabetes the finger. Thanks, and I'll talk to you later.